We are live 364 days a year.
What are we doing here?
If Dom turns at SummerSlam, I'm shaving my moustache off. I've told you, if that happens, it's going. My lip is cold because of a stupid bet that I made with YouTube.
Oh, good.
Wrestle's better than Daniel Bryan Daniels. Better than Okada.
How do you not get 60 after Monday Night Raw?
Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. And it's a Wednesday today. We're going to be talking about WWE now deliberately counter-programming AEW pay-per-views, what that means, if it's the right decision, and all of it. I'm absolutely fuming at Clark for something that he said on yesterday's show to do with the Judgment Day, so we have to talk about that as well. Plus, Ricky Sainz has lost the North American Championship. Could he be main roster bound? We'll talk about that. And also, to finish up the show, we're going to be doing our Dream Wrestling Road Trip panel. Basically, what wrestlers we'd want to be in a car with us on a road trip. But for a fun show, we need a fun panel. And boy, oh boy, do I have one today. Let's kick things off all the way in L.A. Well, actually, just outside L.A., Orange County, to clarify. But how are you, Clark?
I can't believe you would do that.
You hate it.
At me. You took that shot. I know exactly why you did that. Ben, I see you. We're going to get to this Don't Pass Judgment Day theme here later. But it's a debut on a Wednesday. I'm stoked about that. I understand it's nighttime for you over across the pond, but it's daytime here. And I'm used to my debuts on Wednesdays happening at nighttime on Dynamite. We've got one on the daily broadcast that I'm stoked about. So let's get fired up, Ben, and let's get into the show. I'll see you in topic 2.
I'm ready for it. We got a few comments out the gate. We got Roundhead, Bobby Petito, Just Apart, and Fernando Zayas. Shout out to all of you. But Clark, you just mentioned it. Today we have a debut. We have the debuting Dez. Welcome to the show, Dez.
Thank you guys so much for having me on here. Very excited for this moment. Let's talk about wrestling. And I want to see this Clark and Ben debate. This seems like absolute cinema. I'm ready to see this go.
Absolutely. It is fantastic to have you here, Des. DCX Warlord got you confused with Desmond Xavier for a second, but it is all good and we are ready to go. Let's kick things off with the news that came out yesterday that NXT Great American Bash 2025 will be going directly head-to-head with All Elite Wrestling. They're doing the show in the afternoon, literally to directly combat it, right? This isn't some conspiracy now. It's 2 big pay-per-views in a row. NXT are deliberately counter-programming AEW. And look, from a business perspective for WWE, I understand it. I don't necessarily think it is the right decision, if I'm being completely honest here, because I do think NXT kind of, I do think AEW, I should say, thriving is actually still good for WWE as well. But I understand it, at least from a business perspective. What I don't understand, Clark, is why the hell WWE, or some WWE fans on X, are like celebrating this like their favorite sports teams just won a tournament. It's so bizarre to me.
I've never understood it. The funny part to me is how quickly we forget that they were chased away from Wednesday. I thought they might chase them back to Wednesday if we were going to play the petty game again. Nope. They're still on Tuesdays, but they'll see them on a weekend every now and again. I kind of dig it. What I don't dig is exactly what you mentioned last, Ben, and that is the internet response where it's acting like your favorite sports team just won a game. It doesn't really help either one. You would have the opportunity to watch both if they weren't counter-programmed against each other. There's a reason in the NHL and NBA playoffs right now they don't play games at the same time. People want to watch all of them, especially certain people. Now, don't get me wrong, the NBA isn't competing against itself. The WWE isn't necessarily competing against itself. But if they're looking for market share against AEW by running an NXT show here and chasing them again, it just feels petty. It just, everything about it says petty. And I'm not upset about it. I respect it. I get it. I'm competitive as could be, whether it's business or anything, sports, no matter what. I'm competitive. But this one in particular, it's punching down in a silly way. It's trying to show them up with NXT. And realistically, the weirdest part is, look, NXT is not pay-per-view. AEW is pay-per-view. So the numbers don't even truly align. It just takes away market share for a few hours. It takes away a small percentage of fans that are going to buy the AEW pay-per-view that decide not to. I'll watch the free show instead. Counter programming.
Yeah.
That's all this is. It's not like they're going to show up on the press conference and do this. We beat them this time. We got them. That's not what it's going to be, because the numbers don't even correlate, right?
Yeah.
Peacock subscribers and Netflix subscribers versus pay-per-view buyers. It's two different forums to introduce content. So
I also just don't think this is smart from NXT in terms of, surely it means that less people watch their product.
I would assume so too.
Yeah, surely it's in their benefit to get more eyes on these developmental stars, the big stars of tomorrow.
It'd be one thing if it was a main roster PLE. But the NXT part of it too, I'm like, are you trying to actually hinder NXT in a way too? Are you trying not to let people?
I hope not.
Because
surely
people,
not.
Here's the thing. It's not that long ago. Yes, it's been, I guess, 6 years now, essentially 5 years. But it's not that long ago that we viewed NXT as a third brand. NXT titles were defended on WrestleMania. NXT superstars Keith Lee and Brock Lesnar staring down in the Rumble were on big shows.
Yeah.
And they were viewed as a third brand. Black and Gold. Yes, we had the 2.0 era. We've had a lot happen since then. It feels longer than it actually is.
Yeah.
Because it's not. And I'm wondering if WWE wants to definitively go, this is our third brand, so we'll go head to head with AEW. And in their minds, it's official in that way. Our third brand, our developmental can compete with you.
Personally, I don't think they're trying to make NXT a third brand. What I think they're doing is exactly what David's saying here. Counter programming with a developmental is very intentional too. They either beat AEW and get cheap points, or they lose, and probably they will lose, and they can write it off as an unfair war.
There's no true win because
there isn't.
It's subscription versus. There's not a number.
Yeah.
Nobody wins. Nobody
Yeah.
wins. That's the worst part about this. At least when it was a ratings war, there was a winner and there was a loser on Wednesday nights when they went head to head. And you can record one and watch it. That was fine. I had less of a problem with that than I do with this.
Yeah. No, I had way less of an issue too, because I also do. I mean, it was AEW kind of going on to NXT's nights too, and then they went onto TV for it, but it was onto their nights, right? That I had no issue with that. But this, I don't think is to try and elevate NXT. I don't think it's with the belief that NXT is going to beat AEW. I think it is purely to hurt AEW. And Roundhead has this fascinating comment here, and this is, I think a lot of people are saying a similar thing, that he doesn't watch AEW not because of any reason, just you don't have time for it and stuff. And there's so much wrestling content now. It is hard to watch everything, no doubt about it.
It's just a shot at AEW's ankles.
Childish.
That's the way I look at it. It's just a shot at their ankles, right? It's a chop block, as you'd call it in football, or like in American football and soccer, right? It's a cheap tackle, right? It's like, okay, it's not going to end the game.
No.
But it might affect it, right? If you get them too good on the side, right? Like,
yeah. No, that's a good point. And we got Chaos in the chat. Shout out to you, Chaos. And Fernando says, and I agree with this 100%, a developmental promotion cannot be a third brand. I agree with that. And I loved NXT Black and Gold, but that's the reason why Vince McMahon had to kill it. And it was the last good decision he made.
As much as it's still, I kind of disagree. I think it totally can be here. We talk about the youth movement and all of that. NXT is as entertaining as any show WWE produces. Truthfully, it is. You cannot build a star that is going to outweigh the top stars on Raw and SmackDown on NXT. I don't believe you can build.
That's what I mean
deep,
by
deep
it can't
division,
be a proper third brand.
And I still think even then, you go back and look at ECW. The majority of the top stars after the beginning moved on to other brands, and that was fine. That was a developmental brand. ECW, WWE, ECW. Was a developmental brand. At the end of the day, it was.
Yeah.
CM Punk ended up being a main roster star. Bobby Lashley, main roster star. Jack Swagger, main roster star. Christian back up to the main roster. World title stuff. Matt Hardy, samesies. Everybody that was walking around ECW doing that stuff at the time, it was as developmental as this is. And so I don't think it's as big of a, I don't think it's as important to the WWE that the developmental is lesser, especially considering it's on cable television.
Yeah. No, I do agree with you, Clark, but I want to find out what Des thinks. What is your thoughts on this entire situation?
Honestly, I just think it's really funny because in a way, people say AEW isn't competition to WWE, and I could really see both arguments for this. You can say it is competition because WWE is kind of programming everything that AEW does way ahead of time, right? Whether it's an NXT show, whether it's a Saturday night main event, whatever they can do to hurt AEW. But then if you want to say that WWE, WWE isn't competing with AEW, they're using NXT to do it, right? If they really wanted to hurt AEW and put them out of commission, they would schedule every major PLE from the main roster against AEW. The fact they're doing that with NXT, it's almost in a way where WWE is saying like AEW is so below us that only NXT can keep up with them. And that alone keeps them on par. Now, I personally disagree because I like watching both shows, right? You want to get both flavors, right? I've always said AEW is where you have a lot of the better wrestling, although WWE wrestling is fantastic, but it's more focused on entertainment, right? It's more focused on the storylines, where AEW, it's like pure wrestling. So it's great to have both styles. But yeah, I can totally understand the frustration with AEW. They just have to try to work around this.
Yeah, I mean, that is a fantastic point. You know, why they don't do this with the main roster shows. I reckon the reason they're doing NXT ones, back to the point earlier on, is because I don't think they care that much if NXT, you know, has slightly less views, as long as it's hurting the competition. But if a Money in the Bank or something got slightly less views because of AEW, that then would affect sponsorships. It would affect them, and it would be very bad for them. But I think NXT, they're just kind of happy to just, you know, take the bullet as long as AEW take 2 bullets.
Right, and I absolutely agree. And NXT, they're killing it right now, right? They have, even though AAA is in a tough spot right now, you have Laredo Kid who is there, Dailies who's there, you have Ray Fenix who's going to be part of Worlds Collide, where it's like Worlds Collide is like must-watch TV. In a sense of just like pure wrestling, pure grab, just like you don't want to miss it. And now they're meshing like all these main roster stars there. They have TNA stars there. So it makes sense why people would want to see NXT over AEW, because I think both brands are just fantastic right now in terms of just wrestling.
There's no doubt about that. And I mean, we've got a few people in the comments talking about Stephanie Vaquer, of course, on NXT last night, lost the belt. Casper, Unfinished Business, said that he was gobsmacked by it. Sergio says that Stephanie Vaquer losing the women's title does not help. I reckon she's main roster bound, and that's why.
So too. I mean, honestly, me and Drizzy broke it down last night on Off the Air. If you haven't seen it immediately following this show, go check that out. It's still there. And it's the opening segment, because we vetted all the scenarios when it comes to the why now, all of the above, right? Like it was one of those things. We were stunned. We had an entirely different show planned. I want everyone to know, because we do that post show immediately following. We had an entirely different show planned, and in 90 seconds, essentially, came up with the first segment, and we gave you a good 15 minutes. So do go check that out. I got to give a monster shout out to Drizzy too. He broke it down like pretty perfectly.
Absolutely. You guys did a great job last night, as always. But Clark, I don't think you did a great job yesterday afternoon on Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, because I went for a walk today, right? I was really enjoying it, really enjoying listening to the insights from you, Geordie, and you. Fantastic show yesterday. And then you guys started talking about the Judgment Day. And you said that the Judgment Day hasn't elevated anyone. And then you go ahead and say that Damian Priest would have become a star anyway and all of this. Hang on a second. Let's just take a step back. Before the Judgment Day, Damian Priest coming up from NXT was a glorified mid-carder. Never in a million years did it look like he was going to be a world champion. He entered the Judgment Day. It turned him into a world heavyweight champion. Rhea Ripley, was she a big deal? Yes. Was she losing momentum? Yes. Were the IWC saying she was overrated? Yes. They put her in the Judgment Day, and guess what? She became one of the biggest draws in the entire company. Then let's take a step back for a second and talk about by far the biggest one, and that is Dominic Mysterio. This guy went from basically seeming like he was only had a job because of his dad to actually being one of the best parts about WWE TV on a weekly basis. He was so bland. He was so boring. There was nothing overly special about him, to be honest with you, in 2021. Then the Judgment Day happened and he became a star. Carlito, I still believe, only has a job in WWE because of this Judgment Day stuff. Same for JD McDonough, and I'm big fans of them both. I just don't think WWE would have plans for them if it wasn't the Judgment Day. The one name who hasn't benefited from this is Finn Balor. I'll give you that. It's not helped him in the slightest. But Liv Morgan, she's been doing the best work of her career. Same for Raquel Rodriguez, other than perhaps her run in NXT. Clark, I can't get my head around for a second your agenda, your issues with the Judgment Day when they have done all of that. That is straight facts. I don't understand how you can say they didn't make any stars.
Group has no direction. It's been turnover after turnover. They were the creepy guys with the purple stuff, and I don't like purple. I went to KU, not K-State. So I don't like purple, never have. Maybe that's part of my problem. I don't know. You got Finn Balor in leather pants with a purple flag hanging out the right side. Like, what is he, Snoop Dogg? Stop it. This is ridiculous, Ben. The Judgment Day has been cornier than the cob they give you when you get the Smokehouse combo at Chili's. It is a joke. You can't possibly think that this group has benefited the stars. Give the talent the credit, not the booking on the Judgment Day. People aren't going, you know what I like is that purple Judgment Day gear. It's graphic tee after graphic tee. I don't know how they're doing merch sales wise. It's fine. Dom Mysterio is the only one that's truly been benefited. Liv Morgan was already going to be a star and elevated, and she didn't need the group to elevate her. Same with Rhea Ripley.
But it did elevate
That's
her.
a joke. That's a joke. She's elevated herself inside of a crappy group. That's okay. That's okay too. The two things can be true at once here. Rhea Ripley also was going to be the top of the card star that she is, with or without the Judgment Day. Damian Priest is an interesting one. I mentioned this yesterday on the show. You said you watched it. I mentioned it yesterday. Compared to other call-ups, he didn't have the success in NXT that he's had on the main roster. But the matches that he put on, especially after leaving the Judgment Day, are where he's been at his finest. And that's where he's legitimized himself, despite having to give up the crossroads to your beloved Cody. Despite all of that, Damian Priest would have been a stud no matter what. And his best work surrounding the Judgment Day has been fighting the Judgment Day. So,
but that came from that story. That's one and the same.
Wasn't enough. What days are they judging? What is the direction of this group? Who's the leader? Who's the leader? Is Ed still calling the shots from AEW? Who's the leader?
Well, that's the entire dynamic point of it. Finn Balor always thought he was the leader. Rhea thought she was the leader. Damien thought he was the leader. Now Liv thinks she's the leader. I think Dom's the leader.
Just apart. Thank you. The name is trash.
Well, the name might be trash. I'm not disputing that. But what I am disputing is the fact that it has made stars. It actually has made stars.
Yeah, they literally took the goth kids from the playground, put them in backstage segments standing together to cut promos. And if you think that made the talent that have elevated despite the Judgment Day stars, I'll let you have that. But I just am not buying it. Nothing
Come
about the
on.
Judgment Day made them stars. They made themselves
You
stars. by
did. The
doing really
positions they were
good
in,
work.
the stories they were telling.
Damian Priest doesn't need to stand with 5 people to cut a promo anymore. And that
Well,
has
he doesn't
nothing
anymore,
to do,
but did he before?
that has
Yes.
nothing to do with the time that they made him do it. No,
He would have
did
been
not.
released, I reckon,
No.
genuinely 6 months after the Judgment Day started.
Oh,
If
he
it
would
wasn't
have
for the
been
Judgment Day.
released.
I believe that. Yeah, I genuinely,
Ridiculous.
that's when they were doing the match releases. I believe that would
No.
have happened.
Not Priest. That's a joke. Multi-time
I-
world champion.
Yeah, now.
Mostly
Before
not.
he wasn't.
Mostly not in the Judgment Day.
He was fighting zombies.
How many days of his reigns were in the Judgment Day, and how many days were not in the Judgment Day? How about Rhea
Yeah,
Ripley?
but how many of them were
How about
after the
Ripley?
Judgment Day?
How about Ripley? How many days of Finn Balor's title reigns have been in the Judgment Day?
I actually think Ripley, you might. No, Finn Balor's the one, which I'm saying to you. You're right. It's not helped Finn Balor at all. That is the one case. Which
All of them except Liv and Dom, who were never intended for the group. This is making chicken salad out of chicken you know what.
Well, we don't know if they were ever intended for the group or not. The fact is they became part of the group.
They were
and the
going to be
fact
like,
is it
we're
helped
going to
them.
bring in Dom and Liv 2 years after we did this. I mean, dude, they had weird shadows and lighting in their initial in-ring promos. This is not, there's nothing that cool about the Judgment Day, and they haven't done anything for anyone that wouldn't have been accomplished without the existence
But you
of the
can't
Judgment
say
Day.
that. There's no way to prove that when all of them have come out of it better than when they were in it.
What you said either. We're having a debate.
Well, they
with
are.
no
The theme
winner.
is they've all come out better than when they went into it.
I'm just telling you right now, I don't believe that the Judgment Day is the reason that as talented of performers as we have, especially in Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, are why they're so over and in consistent fixtures in the world title picture. I'm not buying that.
I think Rhea Ripley would have been a star anyway. I agree with you on that point. I don't think Damian Priest would have been. But I do think that really, the Judgment Day really, and being able to lean into that goth aesthetic for Rhea Ripley is a big reason she became the mainstream star she was. I think it did, fast track her a little bit. I think she probably would have done it anyway. Damian Priest sure as hell wouldn't. And quite frankly, Dom wouldn't have either.
He would have. Why would Damian Priest not have? He's had incredible rivalries.
He was doing nothing before the Judgment Day.
This goes back to you hating old people. You don't like his age.
No, it does. No, it doesn't.
Yes,
No,
it
it doesn't.
It does. He's in his 30s. If he's 28 years old, you're not saying the same thing about Priest. I know.
I am. He was doing nothing. It was stale, right? He had nothing too special about him other than the Crossroads, which he was about to lose. We all know he was about to lose it because Cody was coming into your point.
We all knew. Why would we have to know?
The Judgment Day elevated him. He's elevated everybody. Poggi won
How'd they do
9/11.
for AJ Styles with Edge at 38. They've been on fire since then.
He wasn't in the Judgment Day. Do you lads think Mensa will join the Judgment Day? No, that would be I'd be stunned.
If they get one more new member, I'm going to lose my mind.
They might. I don't think they should either, Clark. I agree with you.
Go ballistic. If they bring in any more people, I swear to you, like everybody cannot be a member of the Judgment Day. It makes no sense.
Club, it really
it makes no sense in the world. It's goofier than a football bat.
But no, I do agree with you in terms of now the quality of it has gone a lot down. I think they do need to, end it and bring it to an end once and for all. But my point is, I disagree with your sentiment, but that does bring us to the end of that debate. David Marge agrees with you. Judgment Day upgrade superstars. Sorry, agrees with me. Upgrade superstars to mega stars. Fernando says this was the best WR conversation ever and that we are both on fire. Thank you very much, Fernando. Casper reckons Dominic is going to get together with Roxanne Perez. That man's resume is certainly stacked. But before we talk about anything else, Clark, can you talk to us for a second about your favorite thing, your favorite app, the thing which you're on your phone every day on?
Totally free. Wrestling Republic undercard. Nope, Itsy.
I mean, Itsy.
Download the Itsy app on the App Store or Google Play Store and head to the upcoming stream section. You're going to see me and you, multiple members of Wrestling Republic now. Ben sometimes shows up. We got takes as well. We the ones, all kinds of awesome content creators. Here's the best part. It's totally free to download. You join the live streams as long as you got a cell phone. You don't even have to turn your camera on if you wouldn't want to, but you can. If you want to show some face, you can jump on and argue with us If you like that little argument between me and Ben, you can come on and check me about the Judgment Day, Cody Rhodes, whatever you'd like. And it's absolutely free. Download the Itsy app. That's ITSY. No matter which phone you got, whether it's the App Store or the Google Play Store. And I swear by it.
It absolutely is that good. Also, I haven't got a graphic for this, but I'm very quickly going to shout it out. This Sunday, Kobe David, the final of the Wrestling Republic quiz tournament, the king and queen of the quiz tournament. We are going to be crowning the king this Sunday, Kobe David. They're both so very confident, aren't they, Clark? But it is going to be
Canada versus the UK. We've got all kinds of stuff two reviewers, 2 writers, 2 podcasters, 1 night. I guess it'll be daytime for me, but it's going to be wicked. I'm excited about it. It's a heavyweight showdown, to say the least.
I wonder if that will come into play, to be fair. The fact that it's night somewhere and daytime in another place. But anyway, let's for a second talk about
his best midday.
Yeah, maybe so.
He actually said that to me one time. That's the only reason. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's just he actually said that aloud to me once. It's like, I think I'm at my best thinking wise midday. I'm like, thanks, Cobb.
But talking about things which are going to happen or might happen in the future. Well, actually, let's talk about last night quickly. Ricky Saints lost the North American Championship to Ethan Page last night on NXT. Former AEW star to former AEW star. But the question now is, could Ricky Saints be about to get called up? And could Ricky Saints potentially be the 4th man in this group of Seth Rollins? Des, I'm fascinated to get your insights on this.
So I've actually been thinking about this because I went for a walk earlier and I was really putting into perspective. There was always been one guy that most people have been married to the idea of joining this faction, and that is Austin Theory, right? I've always said Austin Theory reminds you a lot of Randy Orton from Evolution, where when Orton was first in the group, he was somebody who was just kind of there, except Theory, he's already won Money in the Bank. He's already won the United States Championship. He's already beat John Cena at WrestleMania. So he already has a pretty impressive resume. It's just ever since he lost the United States Championship, he's kind of been dwindling down the card. So to have him with Seth Rollins, with Bronson Reed, with Braun Breaker, and Paul Heyman, it wouldn't be the first time Rollins was with Austin Theory too, because back when Rollins was the Messiah, he was part of that faction. And now that this new faction, I don't even know what's called, Division, I believe it is. I'll call it Division for now, since they have Division of Wrestling. But Seth Rollins having Austin Theory on there really elevates him and gets him towards that main event scene, right? People really want to see Austin Theory, right? The match against Sheamus and Grayson Waller, the match against Sheamus and Austin Theory has been getting a lot of more crowd reaction, where back in 2022, 2023, it was the complete opposite. Because back then, Austin Theory was a corporate guy, right? Similar to a Roman Reigns, to a John Cena. Now, he never got to that elevation, but in the sense where it's like, these are guys who are picked by the corporate system. And they didn't really want them. They wanted other people who were built organically, who were more authentic, but that wasn't the case because it wasn't in the system. Now that Austin Theory is no longer part of that system, people want to see him be in the main event scene because people get along with him. He's very organically, it's more authentic is what I should say with Austin Theory. A lot of people see the potential in him. I've always said it was a really underrated wrestler, and I really believe that. So putting him with Seth Rollins would get him the main event spotlight. For Ricky Saints, though, I like Ricky Saints a lot. He was fantastic in AEW. I just don't think he's going to leave anytime soon, just because I think there's a void for the NXT men's division, where putting Saints there keeps that void filled for the time being, right? You can add TNA guys. You can add AAA guys, right? But when you have Oba, Ethan Page, Javon Evans, who is going to be a star, they had Eddie Thorpe, he's released. Trick Willie Williams is going to be in TNA. So putting Ricky Saints in that main event picture, I feel like they should keep him there for another 4 months and then send him to WWE. I don't think he would join Seth Rollins' faction, but I think it adds a really interesting element because he can also fit in that Randy Orton tier.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Des. That is a great, great shout. We have been talking quite a lot recently about how that NXT main event picture, it's kind of weak right now. So to put Ricky Saints there instead of on the main roster, I do think would be the smarter move. And I said it earlier to and Clark, I know you don't like it when I say this, but this faction is the vision, to your point, Des, for the future. If it is the vision for the future and after the career of Seth Rollins, which he said as well, then you can't really have three out of the 4 guys in the faction be closer to the age of 40 than the age of 30. I mean, that is where I'm kind of like, come on.
I mean, look, when it comes to Ricky Saints, I've got some opinions myself. When it comes to this one, Des, I agree with a lot of what you said there. I think he needs to be on NXT for sure. I keep him so far away from the Seth Rollins faction. I wouldn't touch that with a 39.5-foot pole, not to quote the Grinch, but monster shout out. Right. And I'm just saying, like, here's the problem with Ricky Saints right now is Ricky Saints is now an internet babyface because it was like, oh no, he's being held back. And then we get him on TV and he's an internet babyface and the guy's a born heel. And it's a juxtaposition that is hard to solve. It's really hard to solve because he's not a he's not a babyface naturally. That is not his personality. He's a babyface because of what happened previously. That dust is continuing to be knocked off.
Yeah.
And so that would be the only reason for the Rollins thing to make sense. But they don't need Ricky Saints. I agree. That. They just don't.
Yeah. Austin Theory, I do think, is the one. He's the right age. I think it would elevate him. Yes, he deserves a babyface run, but I think he can do that later. Just a part giving a shout out there to Des as well. It's been great to have you on today, Des. But now let's get into our final segment of the show, shall we? Let's have a little bit of a fun one, because quite often on a Wednesday, I like to do a topic which is maybe a bit more fun compared to most days. And this week, but usually because there's not as much to talk about, but this week we're doing who we'd like to share a road trip with, a wrestling road trip. Who else? What wrestlers we'd like to have in the car with us? And I will kick us off because my first pick is going to be sitting in the back of the car, Sami Zayn. I mean, the guy's a comedian. He is naturally funny. He's going to be cracking jokes the entire way. I feel like he's going to be bringing some food as well. I think he'd be a hell of a lot of entertainment there. Next up, sitting to the right of him in the car, doesn't really matter where they sit, but we'll go along with that anyway. I have Bayley. Bayley is somebody who every time I see her, she is just bucket loads of fun. You can just tell she is somebody who you'd like to hang out with in real life. Everyone gets along with her. She's in every WWE superstar social media post when they're hanging outside, doing stuff outside of WWE. So I think she'd be a really fun person to have in that car. Up next, in the driver's seat, driving the car, I think we need somebody who's a bit older, a bit more experienced, dare I say, unk status. And that man is Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid himself. He knows the way. He knows the directions. He's driving us everywhere. He's cracking jokes too, saying things he probably shouldn't be saying. But behind him in the car, the last guy I have on my road trip is the you can't see me man, John Cena himself. And he's not allowed to bring any suits either, right? I don't want modern corporate. Yeah, I want the jorts. I want him to, wind back the clock a couple of decades. I want him to stop all this,
maybe run the iPod.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I want him to be bringing the tunes, all of that stuff. I want him to go back in time. I want the John Cena 2005 in that back seat. So here it is, my road trip with those guys in the car with me. I think it would be brilliant. Clark, I'll go to you next. What is yours going to be?
So I'm going to go in a little bit of a different order here. But for me, out of the gates, I'm going to sit in the safest seat in the car directly behind the driver. That's where I will be seated, actually, in reality.
Okay, fair enough.
And then I am going to put in the middle seat next to me, HBK, to navigate the GPS. In the seat behind the passenger side, this is an important one. I'm taking Stone Cold Steve Austin. What? Because if we get out there on some of those back roads, And I want to sneak a beer, maybe another beer,
What?
maybe another beer,
What?
maybe another beer,
What?
and one more beer,
What?
one more beer,
What?
and a Bloody Mary. I think
Oh
Austin
my
could help
God.
provide that
There
to
you
this
go.
scenario. Now in the front
Good
seat,
thinking.
this is really important. In shotgun, I'm going to go with Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And
Oh.
the key is the reason that The Rock is in the front seat is because he's going to pay for the rental car. Because
Okay.
when I tell
Okay.
you my driver, you'll understand it's going to be an expensive rental car. Because we're going to need that 64 Impala with Eddie Guerrero behind the wheel, driving us down the road, top down, tunes blasting, the lowrider, the hydraulics hidden every time we pull in the gas station. 64 green Impala, let's go. Now we're talking.
Hell of a shout. I mean, the graphics got them sitting in mostly the wrong places, but it does have Eddie driving. So
Yes.
there it is.
There we go.
Lark's
We're good.
road trip.
It's close enough. We'll take that anyway, but the strategy's there.
It is. I mean, that would be a lot of fun. There might be a little bit of beef, though, between Rock and Stone Cold, no?
That's why I put them in separate rows, unlike the graphic.
Okay, fair enough. On the graphic, they are wrestling on the back
Me and
seat. A little
Sean
bit.
could handle the back seat.
I actually
Rock paid
think,
for the car. That's why I gave him shotgun.
I think the Rock's actually sitting on Stone Cold's lap there. Actually, they've
Yeah, it looks like
got
it.
an
Well,
odd
I was going to
place.
put Sean in the middle because I was worried about the length of legs in the back seat of the Impala. But with the bench seating, I actually think we're all good.
Yeah, they might be a little bit tight in the back there. But what about you, Des? What is your road trip?
It's actually funny that you mentioned this because whenever I go on road trips, I always listen to like a wrestler podcast. So I did my list based off the podcast I've listened to the most. So my number one guy, I have to have CM Punk because I listened to him on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, I think his name is. I've listened to him with CVV, the GOAT Insight. He was also on No Contest Wrestling. CM Punk, to me, is going to be the best storyteller. Plus, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't do drugs. I'm the same way. So it just feels it works that way. The next person I have is, what do you want to talk about? Well, I want to talk about Cody Rhodes, QB1. I want him driving the car. Now, I don't know if he's actually driving the car there, but I want Cody Rhodes being the main guy. I've also listened to a lot of Cody Rhodes interviews. It's pretty crazy because Cody Rhodes went from a legacy to dashing, to undashing, to a mustache, to Stardust, to leaving the company and becoming the American roller coaster as we know today. The next guy I have is R-Truth because R-Truth, in my opinion, is one of the funniest guys ever. He is somebody who will do two things. One, make me laugh, or two, get us lost all the way in like Australia somehow. Now, I don't know how that would happen, but it is R-Truth, right? Anything could happen, but R-Truth has to be on there.
The Rocky
And for my
Mountains aren't
last
looking
show-
so rocky. You're in Nebraska.
Yeah, exactly. And I know people are like, my bad, y'all. My bad. I thought this was on a GPS. You know, it's okay. R-Truth, all's forgiven. R-Truth is on there. And my number 4, one of my favorite things that I say whenever I go to wrestling shows or the podcast, I got the GOAT, the legend, the best luchador in the history of professional wrestling, the best Rey Mysterio does not even come to comparison to my GOAT, the Riz God, the chicken nugget consumer, the king of all wrestling, Dirty Dominic Mysterio. Dirty Dom has got to be on the car, right? He's providing me with chicken nuggies, chicken tenders, chicken cutlets, chicken breasts, chicken, anything chicken, right? In and
It's
out.
breaded and it's chicken.
Exactly, right? He can be in and out of the car. I want to go Dirty Dominic Mysterio sitting next to me. I think this would be a fantastic road trip. WWE, if I was ever booking a TV show with these 4 guys, this is who I would want on there.
Hell of a lineup there.
There you go.
Love it.
Oh my gosh, that is just, I mean, that those are all thought out really well as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll quickly run through them all again. Here's mine: Shawn Michaels, Sami Zayn, John Cena, and Bayley. Clark's is Eddie Guerrero, Shawn Michaels, Rock, and Stone Cold. And Dez has picked CM Punk, Dirty Dominic Mysterio, R-Truth, and Cody Rhodes. A lot of fun. I'd like to be in any of those cars, to be honest.
Yeah, same here.
My car's dangerous, man. I
It's
was like
dangerous.
looking at it. I was like, dude.
The Rock and
In
Shawn
an
Michaels.
Impala too. We're just standing out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Roundhead says Ric Flair, Liv Morgan, Bray Wyatt, and Curtis Axel.
Curtis
Great
Axel.
shout.
I might take
Interesting.
Mr. Perfect, other than I heard about the Lesnar and him thing on the flight from hell. So that
Oh.
took Mr. Perfect out of my car.
Fair.
You can't be throwing it against the safety door.
Anthony Manzano wants his car to be an SUV so we can fit in Vader, Roman, Brian Pillman Sr., Rey Mysterio, Stephanie Vaquer, Lita, and Obafemi. That would be complete chaos.
Could
That
be a
is for
minivan.
sure.
That's why I went Impala, though. You got the bench seating in the back.
That's a good
That's
shout.
nice. It's a nice touch.
Bobby Petito has Obafemi at the wheel with Miles Bourne, Ren Sinclair, and Taven Heights. Basically an NXT road trip.
Yeah.
Whoever's sitting back left, though, no leg room. Obafemi's like 6'8".
I know, right? So
Love
it'll
you,
be
Bobby,
like,
though. That is hilarious. I'm
it's
just
going to be
saying.
a cross.
Christopher Leclerc says Bailey, Roxanne, Julia, and Cora Jade. I mean, fair enough. I feel
That's
like
fine.
that's also CM Punk's dream road trip.
All his
Anthony,
best friends.
Yeah.
yep,
It was also main event Vengeance Day, too.
it was. Yeah, that's a good
That is
point.
wild.
Yeah.
Maybe Punk's driving them all there.
Yeah, there you go.
Anthony Manzano has chosen a Chevy Tahoe as
Oh, Chevy
the.
Tahoe is not a bad call.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's a big
And
SUV.
Fernando
I would have gone
enjoyed this
Denali, though.
segment, thank
GMC Denali with the wings, with the captain seats in the back. Go all the way. If you're going to go big SUV, go
gosh.
big SUV.
No doubt about it. But that has brought us, guys, to the end of the show. That was a very fun segment, actually. Thank you to Clark, as always, for joining me. But also thank you to the debuting Des. Fantastic debut show here. Looking forward to having you on more shows as the weeks go by. We will be back. Same time, same place tomorrow, because we're feeling like sickos. We're feeling like we're coming down with a little bit of an illness right now because it is AEW Dynamite tonight. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a fantastic Wednesday. Peace.